Jaws. An all-time classic and one of my favorites. It is Shark Week, guys. I am going to be reviewing Jaws for Shark Week. This review will contain some spoilers, so if you have not seen Jaws, you've been warned. I've already reviewed another shark movie on this channel, and that was The Shallows when it first came out. One of my first videos for this channel. You can check that out. My thing with Jaws is that I feel like it embodies shark movies. No shark movie has ever come close to being as good or topping Jaws. Jaws takes place in the small New England town of Amity. It's actually a fictional town, and when there are a couple of drownings that happen in Amity, Chief Inspector Brody, played brilliantly by Scheider, investigates and finds out that they are shark attacks, and he has to bring in outside people, which brings in Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw, and they have to go and hunt down this shark. Jaws is one of the most exciting and suspenseful thrillers ever made, and especially on rewatch, you can appreciate it a lot more. You just don't want to go in the water after this movie. Steven Spielberg was at the helm for this movie, and he directed the shit out of this movie. He knew how to craft a shot for this movie. He knew that he couldn't show every bit of the shark. He knew how to keep things suspenseful and mysterious. That's what I really like about Jaws. You don't see the shark all that often. And when you do, when you see it in its entirety, its full body, it's only like 3 shots throughout the whole movie. That is how mysterious Steven Spielberg keeps this film. Keeps you on edge. This was made in 1975, so it doesn't really follow all the horror movie cliches that we've grown accustomed to, and quite frankly, I don't think Jaws is really a horror movie, despite what Best Buy might tell you. This is a more suspenseful, mysterious type of film that I'm kind of like how I've already stated. The less you see, the more terrified you are. Scene by scene, it really builds that suspense to 11. For me, though, the most impressive part of this movie is probably the shark itself. That is not a CGI'd shark. That is a full-blown, built-to-scale, mechanical shark that they built and put in the water and made it look so friggin' real. You thought it was actually a real shark. That is how much thought and production value went into making this movie. He did the same thing when he made Jurassic Park in 1993. He made mechanical dinosaurs, but with a mechanical shark, it makes it look so real that it gives you a sense as to how shark attacks really happen and just how bad and graphic they are. Speaking of the graphic nature of this movie is rated PG. This is probably the most graphic PG movie ever made, because the PG-13 rating wasn't invented until after Temple of Doom was released. This easily could have been rated R. And I actually think this movie should have been rated R. I don't think it should have been PG. There is a lot of blood in this movie. There is a lot of loss of limbs. You see a limb fall to the bottom of the ocean in this movie, and it's pretty graphic. It gets pretty bloody at times, but how they manage to maintain that level of graphicness with a PG rating, make it family-friendly enough, is really miraculous. It adds another layer of realism to the film, and the fact that you don't even see the full shark when these shark attacks happen. You don't even see the mouth for a lot of these shots. You see people get dragged underwater, mostly. And then you just see the blood pop up. They did it in a way, going back to what I said in the beginning, it adds to the mysteriousness, the suspensefulness, and just proves how terrifying this film really is. The characters and the acting in this movie are mostly really good. Scheider does a really good job as Brody, and instantly you like Brody because he's the chief of police in this small town. You're on his side immediately because he knows there's a shark attack. He's trying to convince the whole town that shark attack happened. He has to close the beach. You really like Richard Dreyfuss. Dreyfuss is really, really good in this movie. I prefer his performance in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but he is really, really good in this movie. His character is Hooper. He's a shark fanatic, and he's the one who examines the shark and is like, yeah, this is the type of shark you're dealing with. It was a shark attack. Here's what we have to do. Robert Shaw, Red Grant from Russia with Love, yeah, he's in this movie. He's probably got the best performance out of the 3 leads in this entire movie. It's a movie that's gonna make you afraid to ever go in the ocean, in a lake, in a pond, wherever it may be, ever again, because you're like, oh shit, there could be a great white stalking me and trying to eat me. Despite the classic that this movie is, it is not perfect. There are some flaws I do have with this film, even though I really love this film, and one of those flaws is the pacing in the second half. The first half is really interesting, it keeps you invested. The second half has quite a few slow scenes where you kind of just tune out, and you think that these scenes probably aren't that relevant. The first half of this movie is a couple of shark attacks happen, Chief Brody is investigating, he brings in outside help to help with the investigation, and they come to the conclusion that this is definitely a shark attack, and that the beaches have to be closed. And then the second half is Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, going to hunt the shark, and they're just sitting there, on a boat, waiting, in the middle of the ocean. That's really the second half of this movie, and there are some scenes that really bore you. One other thing that really bothered me was Quint's characterization. Quint is played by Robert Shaw. He's not really in the movie all that much, and he's kind of an asshole. Just saying that right now. I mean, he and Hooper do not get along. He and Brody really do not get along. He's just kind of an asshole who's like, I'm better than everybody, and there's really nothing to latch onto with that character. Why, when at the end of this movie, he gets eaten by the shark and dies, you really have no sympathy for him. You really don't feel anything. You're actually kind of relieved that he's dead. This is a minor flaw, but there are some dumb characters in this movie, like the mayor. I'm pretty sure in real life, when the chief of police and a shark expert tell you to close the beaches, no matter if it's July 4th, another holiday, or just a random summer day, after 2 shark attacks have happened, and after you captured and killed the wrong shark, and the correct shark that's been killing people is still out there, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't open the beaches again and let people go swimming in the water. Never happened in real life, but in this movie, the mayor's like, well, it's July 4th, the shark is killed, you don't have confirmation that this is the fake shark, I'm going to open the beaches on July 4th and everything's going to be fine. Except you will be there to make sure everybody is safe. Even the audience can tell the mayor to go fuck himself when he opens up the beaches after 2 sharks attacks within a week. And another one happens. Yeah, gotta close the beach then. Guys, Jaws is like the quintessential shark movie that should be watched every Shark Week and is just an all-time classic and one of my favorites. Spielberg is my favorite director of all time, and he captures the tension, the suspense, the mysteriousness of this shark in this film without ever fully showing it to its entirety for almost the entire runtime of the movie. That's how well crafted and well directed this movie is. And it's also very well written, except for a few things with the characterization and that minor flaw where the mayor's kind of a dumb character. However, Jaws is a very beloved movie. I really love Jaws, and it's going to make people afraid to go in the water. Jaws isn't perfect, but I'm going to give Jaws an A-. Unfortunately, they had to make 3 more sequels to Jaws. None of them were good. And no shark movie has ever topped Jaws, in my opinion. Guys, thank you for watching this special Shark Week edition of my review for Jaws. I will have more reviews coming your way. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.